What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and we are here with your Wolves preview, sort of. It's not that we're going to break Wolves down or anything like that, but we're going to get together, have a chat for the next half hour on how we're feeling about the Wolves game. Before we get going, we are proudly sponsored by Action Cut, Sheffield, and Triple Point Brewery. Thank you to our sponsors for again supporting the channel. It's very much appreciated. Before I get going as well, I want to see if I can. Where is it? There we go. I'm going to stick a banner across that says, just thank you to our Patreon. Thank you to everybody that supports the channel. But our Patreon Ramblers put significant support into the channel, so it's very much appreciated, as is any support that you offer. So we've got Wolves coming up. Listen, I know that what we originally said with these warm-ups was there were going to be phone-ins, as are the post games. However, don't say I don't listen to feedback, because I do. So there's not, people really like the phone-ins, and I want to keep that format going. I'm just conscious of such a sharp change in our content so quickly. So the plan going forward for the time being will be that these previews will continue, but as a 30-minute preview, if you like, with me talking to you guys like we do on lives normally prior to the phone-ins. The 90 after 90 will remain a phone-in after the game when people are most eager to talk about the result and what's gone on beforehand. So we're here to talk about Wolves. To be honest, I haven't even wanted to think about United all week, but we have to face reality. We have more games to play in this league before the inevitable happens. So thank you to everybody as well for the support on the racism video I did. I know there was other topics that I discussed in there. It wasn't just about racism, but we don't often cover hard-hitting topics. We don't have to. But it's great to see that that's got such positive feedback and lots of attention. If you haven't seen it already, then please go give it a watch. It's something that I think is an important message to get out there. But yeah, no room for racism in the game. So I'm going to get some comments before we start, because I'm going to get to my team as well. I want to know what your teams are. And then I'm going to prep you as well, because on Sunday, we're not only going to be doing the post game, but we'll be doing a watch along as well. And that'll be me. In fact, let's just get to it now. Let me show you what we've got ready for Sunday, the watch along. And let me just move this badge. Coloured boots. Yeah, it's a Wolves versus Blades watch along with myself and the main man, Andy the Blade, will be joining me. So absolutely brilliant that he's agreed to jump on. We'll also be doing the contract video with my dad as well, where I'm going to be looking at what contracts I'd offer in the summer, which players I'd keep, which players I'd let go. My dad will also talk through which players he'd keep and which he'd let go as well. So we're going to be talking about that going forward as well. But on to Wolves. So what do we think? Danny has provided us with a significant start today, old Danny boy. So hi, Jimmy. Not really confident in getting some sort of result from this game. Wolves are a decent side, which is playing some decent football at the moment, even without a first-team striker scoring regularly. We've got an injury list as long as my leg. No players in form. Players we need either banned or not good enough. I look now with optimism to getting relegated and would actually improve everything apart from financially sustaining the club. Had enough of getting battered week in, week out and not being able to compete on the pitch. This season, we went bad as soon as the last ball was kicked last season. This season went bad as soon as the last ball was kicked last season. No direction, no quality. Best two players are leaving. Poor and panic recruitment. Poor leadership from the top to bottom. And what happens next now? Getting relegated embarrassingly. End of the season, a new era begins. Young, hungry, quality players being involved in the first team week in, week out, financial muscle to put a quality squad together to do well in this division, release older contract players who think they should walk into the Blades side without even trying, just because they've been with us for 100 years. I honestly think with new ownership, which rumours are rife, could be happening, and keep Wilder for the rebuild would be brilliant. And I think we can get back up first time of asking and stay there for years like Palace and Fulham's. Getting back to a Wolves match, 2-0 loss, and one shot on target up the Blades, Jim. Wow, Danny, that is loads of info to start us off. Look, you've touched on loads of stuff there. You are sharing the frustration of many of us fans. You touched on the new ownership. For those that haven't had a chance to see my update on the takeover, there's no massive update on the takeover, but we're just getting you up to speed with where we are. Prince Abdullah's invested in the services of Lazars, an asset management company who source investment for big companies such as, which obviously Sheffield United are. So, and it's a significant investment in Lazars to find us an appropriate buyer. So the wheels are moving on a sale for Sheffield United, even if no one's identified. They are going through their due diligence at the moment. And once they know all they need to know about United, they will then be able to sell us to appropriate and interested buyers. So that is where we are with the sale. That's why Danny's talking about that as a potential thing to happen. Doesn't mean there'll be one done for the summer. I know some people are skeptical on it anyway, but hopefully this sort of goes to squash some of those thoughts. In terms of Wolves coming up, they're playing really well at the moment. Gary O'Neill, one of the most underrated managers in the league, has been for some time. I think he was unfairly dismissed at Bournemouth. They pulled the trigger too easy because he wasn't a name. And this is the problem, isn't it, with some clubs, that they think they get a little bit of ahead of themselves. And I mean, the glaring example for me is Birmingham, where John Eustace had them sixth in the league, but new ownership came in and wanted a name. So they got Wayne Rooney in and dropped to like 20th or whatever it was. Now they've gone back to a traditional manager, Tony Mowbray. Hope he gets well soon, whatever the issue is that he's dealing with. But Tony Mowbray, tried and trusted, steady Eddie, no problems. He's gone back on a sound footing and will hopefully grow them in. Hopefully. I mean, it's not to do with us, is it? But so Gary O'Neill falls into that category. He's not a sexy manager, if you like. I think that's what they call it, isn't it? Something like that. Rude Hullet famously said it. But, you know, if it were Gary O'Neill, then he might be in a more glamorous job. But he's done a great job with Wolves. Really good. I think he turned a lot of opinions round on Monday Night Football when he came on and did the analysis, showed a real depth of knowledge about the game, opened some eyes, and his next job will be bigger than Wolves, no doubt. You know, but it's going to be a real tough test for us. I went on Shore and View and I said it's going to be the most optimistic I can hope for is one apiece, and even convincing myself that that's a possibility is a struggle at times. So, what do you think? What do you think score's going to be? Can we get something from Molineux? It's one of those fixtures that you look at on paper and you think, well, they're not one at Big Six. They're not typically a top 10 Premier League side, and you know, you think they haven't really got a standout striker at the minute. Maybe we can, but they're not. They're a solid Premier League team, and we're not. We're just not that. If they were coming to Bramall Lane, obviously we beat them at Bramall Lane earlier in the season, but you give us more weight at home. Going away to Molineux is a much tougher task, I think. Tim says, hi, Jimmy. Hope you're okay. I'm great. Thank you, mate. Hope you are too. Really hope we get a result to stick it to these pundits who have been written us off, even if they are right. Thank you, Tim, one of our elite ramblers. So thank you for your support, pal. And you noted earlier in the chat, didn't you, that Chris Sutton basically said, well, Sheffield United get the odd result here or there, but most weeks they get battered. And like you said, it'd be lovely to stick it to somebody like Chris Sutton, who's not a very likable character anyway, I don't think. But is he wrong? Is he wrong with some of the results we've had this season? Guys, looking forward to the trip to Wolves. Not so much on the result. Going to be difficult to get a result, but not impossible. Thank you to our Wolves correspondent, Gaz. Looking forward to that, pal. Going again Sunday, says David, and just want to see some fighting desire. Give us something to shout about and a bit of pride back. I hope we can build a half-decent team with the injuries we've got up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man, thank you, David, and all the best. One of our great supporters that goes away. And look, so for those of you that can't get to away games, can't get to home games, it's great to hear our away support on the TV. And we stand out, I think, as a fantastic away following. So more power to everybody that can get there. You know, it's not who's a bigger Blade game, is it? But it's we should be proud of our brilliant away support. So fair play to all those that get away to every game, or most games. Rich says, evening, Jimmy. Look forward to seeing a bit of character from the team this weekend. We need a response. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man, Platinum Rambler, Rich. Thank you, pal. Yeah, let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. Where's the StreamYard link, Alls? So we've pulled it from the warm-up. If you wanted to jump on, you're more than welcome, but that'll be for the post-game, pal. It's something I mentioned at top. Hopefully you caught that. Just hope Doyle doesn't score. Could happen, Danny, couldn't it, mate? Could happen. Chirac says, just play as many youth as possible till the end of the season. You can only help and see who and what we've got, and they'll be bedded in for next season, which can only help us and them young'uns. I disagree with this, Chirac, and it's not just because it's you commenting. I don't want people to think this because we get on fine. We disagree on certain things, and as long as you keep it respectful, that's always no problem, mate. But I don't think you can just chuck kids in. And it's not because of the league position, 18th to 20th, which is something I've already sort of spoken about, where the financial difference between finishing 18th and 20th is about 5 million quid. Might even be about 6 million quid with local inflation. So, with recent inflation, sorry. So, I think there's merit to wanting to finish as high as you possibly can. I think there's merit to wanting to go into next season with a bit of momentum. Even if you're down, but you win the last couple of games, it can kickstart you. We're in a different category this year, sort of, because I think there's going to be a huge turnover of players in the summer. So much work to do. But were you mentioning the team? I'm happy to pull up now. Let's see if I can get it up. I'm going to ask you what your team is. So my team, let me get back up to Chirac's comment. I'll pull it off because, oh, Jesus. My team is there. What do we think to this team? So I think he's going to stick with a 3-5-2. And hopefully our boy Cam Archer is fit again. So I'm going Gerbic in goal. I think he'll make that change after another 5 goals past Wes. Not that Wes was particularly at fault for the majority or anything. I don't think you can point the finger at Wes for what happened last time out. But I think he sticks with the 3 at the back that he changed to last week, which is Anel on the right side, Jackie Longthrow in the middle, and Trusty at the left. With Jackie Longthrow in the middle, he's a steady Eddie, isn't he, really? He's never been a defender that likes to get up and down. He's the closest thing we've got to a Chris Morgan. I'd like to see him talking more and a little bit more confidence in his game. But with him being in the middle, he tends to go either side for the long throws, which is obviously a huge weapon in our arsenal. Bogle, I hope he picks up his performance levels from last week, because I wasn't impressed. And obviously, if George Baldock's fit, then I'm putting George Baldock back in, but I don't think he'll make it, unfortunately. And I'm going with Ozzy at left wing back. Max Lowe is now out for the season. He's just posted something actually before we came on to say thank you for the support. He's now going to be out for the season. He's actually out of contract as well. So whether we've got a +1 option is yet to be seen. But it's an interesting one as to whether you'd be keeping Max Lowe. And I think people will probably lean towards keeping him now just due to the situation that we're in with numbers. So in the middle, I think you can't drop Big Vinny or Gus, really, just because of what they can give to this side. Tom Davis is the one that's questionable for me, whether he's fit enough. I think he's looked okay when he's come on. I think he'll be a really strong part of this team going forward. But this is the one area where we're starting to have a little bit of choice. So not only have you got Andre Brooks that you could play here, but also Blaster, the future captain of Sheffield United that's just signed his new deal. I wonder if Wilder hasn't included him until he's signed his new deal, whether there's a bit of that been going on. So maybe Blaster comes in here. I'm not going to be unhappy whichever of the 3 comes in, whether it's Davis, Brooks, or our Blaster, to be fair. And Jimmy Mack, one of our best players this season, undoubtedly, is going to be supporting, hopefully, Cameron Archer up top. It seems to me like Wilder's soured a little bit on Asula. And when is McBurney ever fit? I doubt that Brereton Diaz will be fit. And if he is, then it'll be from the bench. So I don't think that's a bad change to make. If he's ready to come back on 60 minutes, bringing Brereton Diaz on, it's a great option to have, isn't it? So at least we get him there, aren't we, with players? So I don't think we should be just playing as many youth as possible, Chirac, because I also think it can, getting done 5 can also sort of unravel some of your development as well. All says you should never underestimate the Blades. Even though we're 20th, we can still pull out a good result. We can. We can do that. We just haven't done it enough, have we? To be fair. Danny says my team is the full under-21 team. Deary me. Andy the Blade is the GOAT. I would have to agree. But he probably would too, to be honest. 3-1 Wolves, unfortunately, says Kipper. Let's not be realistic. Let's be positive. Thanks for the watch along. No problem, Jimmy, mate. No problem. I assume you're a Wolves fan with the little emoji there, but you're welcome, pal. You're welcome. If I see 100% effort, then Gunner Wolves on Sunday, then I'll count it as worth it. Well said, Dean. We're not good enough to take the rest of the season on the chin. Tough to sort it out now for next season. This one's gone. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man. Add a like, says Danny. Top. Cheers, Danny. Appreciate that, pal. Yeah, if you want to drop a like, then that'd be appreciated. Your man, Chair. Well, I don't think we're signing him now, says Ollie. Yeah, I put a little comment in the group. Just, I don't know whether it's too soon, but hopefully from what I understand, the victim is okay. So for those of you that haven't heard, Ilias Chair, who we have long admired on the Ramble, there's never been an official link to our club. The QPR forward, tricky forward that is usually the difference maker for QPR and was a big player in their survival bid. He's just been sentenced, apparently, I've not seen this confirmed anywhere other than rumours online, to a year in prison for assaulting somebody and putting him in a critical condition. So, yeah, terrible news, obviously. I was sort of saying, well, maybe that drops the price a little bit, but because we're skinned. Anyway, that's by the by, but that's a huge blow for QPR. Huge blow. Yeah, daft. And to be honest, from what I understand, they rejected like a £7.5 million bid from Leicester in the summer. Daft. They must have known. This case has been going on for over a year, apparently. They must have known about that. What is going on? Why would you do that? Evening, Dom. We have to start our best striker on Sunday. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Absolutely right. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man. The one time I can actually phone in and give you some ecky nonsense. Sorry, pal. Sorry about that. Stevie boy. We lost to Arsenal 5-0 and then beat Wolves 2-1. Lost to Brighton 5-0. Wolves next. Wolves 1, Blades 2. You should bottle that and sell it wherever you're on. So, well, don't post that on here if it's something you shouldn't be doing, but there you go. Evening, Jimmy. Had a few days off social media to get away from the negativity. Hopefully a better performance result this weekend. Looking forward to the watch along. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Me too. I am, as you can probably tell by my voice, I'm a little bit under the weather. Picked up something from one of my daughters. So I'm hoping to be on better form for the weekend. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it anyway. Not for the game, more because it's me and my dad just watching the game and having a laugh. But, you know, any result is a bonus. I really think people are getting overly down for us. To have any chance of bouncing back, we need to minimise the damage and divisions caused by this season. Chill out, says Lax Luther. I think that's fair. Yeah, we need to be a little bit more, level-headed about it. Think about the long game. Try and bring the club a bit back together again. I like that. I know Mason Holgate's mum and dad very well. His dad, Tony's a wonderful guy. He also hasn't got a racist bone in his body. Tony is a smashing guy and was a decent footballer. Racism out. Absolutely right, Al. Say it louder, say it prouder. There's no room for it in the game at all. And to be honest, nobody's, there's been nothing that said, oh yeah, but it were a terrible. No, there's no buts. There's no excuse for it. As I say, we've done a video on it. So if you want to go check that out, you're more than welcome. All starting 11 is Gerbich, Bogle, Anel, Robbo, Trusty, Davis. Also, that's a back four. Davis, Macca, Gus, Vinny, Will, and maybe Cam or Ollie Mack, depending on the injury. So you're going 4-4-2, or probably like a diamond maybe in the middle with Vinny sitting and Macca higher. Yeah, I can see that. He might do that. Gary O'Neill and Rob Edwards, the best around, and Nuno. Not Nuno. Don't say Nuno, Jimmy. Come on, mate. You're welcome here, but let's not praise Forest. Oh, my word. My score is 5-0 to Wolves, says Eamon. Oh, my word, mate. We cannot do that. We cannot give them a 5-zip again, can we? We'll pick up a point, but others around us will too. I haven't even looked at who else. Honestly, I've been that off footy this week. I mean, cards on the table. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to watch Leeds Leicester in bed because I feel rough. But that's first footy I've watched in ages. Just like to say, Jim, good job on the racism video. It's a topic that has to be solved, and I 100% agree with you about your ideas to help it stop. Thank you, pal. Thank you. Anything that can, make it stop. I fancy a shock away win, says Al. Up the Blades. Shearer made Sutton look good at Blackburn. Absolutely right, he did. Yeah. Shut up, Chris Sutton. Alls wants to see Arblaster play. This doesn't say that you do. So, yeah. I would too, Alls. I would too, mate. Last time they had Neto out and the Beanpole up front, yeah, he was poor, weren't he? I imagine they'll be a lot better this time. Probably right, Kyle. From your Barbadian correspondent, bloody hell. Spot on that, Bri. I tell you what, that's commitment from an elite Rambler, isn't it? Jumping on while he's in Barbados. I think the team will be a bit 15th again. Going for a 2-2, Blaster to get 20 minutes. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man. Up the Blades. 3-1 Blades, I think, says Steve. Up the Ramble. Hope Doyle doesn't play. I'd rather have had him than McAtee. Not because I dislike McAtee, but I think Doyle suits our style of play more than McAtee. Completely agree. It was never really a deal that lined up, though. I know people think it was. In earlier videos, we've explained why it wasn't, but it's one of them that felt so close, but never really was. I'm sure he wanted it, but if he wanted it that bad, he could have made it happen, I think. The Greatest Escape is still on. We have to pause the European charge. Yeah, we'll pause it. I'll concede the European charge is done. I want Doyle back. Yeah, I know. I think Lowe will not wear a Sheffield United shirt again due to expiring contracts and injuries. What's happened to the knuckle draggers? Has the club found the disgusting culprits and outed them? I don't know whether the Blades, if I'm honest, Gaza. There may be, but I'd be shocked for one, just because of the type of abuse they were getting. It seemed to me like it was coming from like foreign accounts. And somebody pointed out that maybe it's somebody who's a fan of Mitoma, who, from foreign climes. And it's hard to link it back into it, but let's hope they do get caught and dealt with. Also, I think Wilder has a plan like last Sunday. Let's hope no bad challenges change it. And Andy loves Sheffield United. Don't we all, pal? Don't we all? Let's hope we're still smiling come 3 o'clock on Sunday, 3:30. Jimmy, on a serious note, would you want a consortium of investors to take over Blades like what Burnley's got, or mega rich owner what drops price at the lane to £1? Not many liquid owners out there. Well, whoever takes over ain't going to drop the price to £1 because it's. I won't mind a group of investors. It's difficult because I've got a bit of a dog in the fight. Having a loose relationship with Prince Abdullah, I think it's great for me personally to sort of get to know little bits, not a lot, and have a bit of an into the club. I think it's also been proven that Prince Abdullah has got, in my opinion, and others will think differently, I think the main flaw that is the fairest to throw at Prince Abdullah is his lack of finance. So maybe if we were a club that brought extra investment in and we had more money, then we could still be steered by people that love the club and want to invest in the right areas going forward. I would never say no to a billionaire, obviously. That's what we all want. And I'll argue later as to whether it spoils my experience of being a fan. But to be up there with the top end of English football, ask Newcastle fans how they're feeling at the minute. I bet they're still riding a wave. It might come eventually in 10 years' time, like, I missed the glory days of when we're a bit up and down. But for me, we're never going to see Sheffield United win a Premier League in my lifetime, I don't think, unless something like that happens. Can't get us anything out of the game. Can't see us getting anything out of the game, unfortunately, says Shore boys. Excuse me a sec. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, isn't it, pal? Hopefully we can get something after everyone's saying we won't, but who knows? We have to keep fighting till the end, no matter what, whether we're 20th with no points or 1 point off survival. We have to keep on fighting. It's the least us fans deserve. And that will be the message, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, that will be the message. And that's how it should be. Is Wolverhampton the posh part of Birmingham? I assume so. I assume so. No room for racism. Absolutely right. Sorry, I've missed another live, but my life at the minute is manic. It's all right, Scotty. Hope everything's all right, pal. Prediction 2-1 Wolves. Doyle on the score sheet and Robbo red card. Bloody hell. I wouldn't start Gerbic. In my opinion, keeper wasn't a problem. Wes faced the most shots in the league, and he's bound to make mistakes. He's also conceded the most goals by some distance. But I get what you said. That's not me arguing. I don't blame Wes for what happened last week. I'm going to be positive for Sunday. I'm going 2-1 Ken result. Up the Blaze, up the Ramble. For the well said, Bry. For those that don't know, 2-1 Ken is a regular caller to Radio Sheffield and often goes 2-1 Blades. No confidence in the Blades now, not until they start winning games. Okay, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, Eamon. Very much appreciated, pal. Gaz says, I think PA has been good for the club. I think it'd be better if he stayed on as a majority owner and we had investment from a third party. Wolves is defo not posh. Dano says, the Blades may live a life of delusion. 3-0 Blades with the performance of the season. Europe is still on. Wow. You've got to love the positive Blades. I'm not going to say deluded. The positive Blades. The other thing I wanted to touch on as well, obviously, Holgate's red card and the fallout that came from that. It was horrendous. A horrendous challenge and unnecessary. And it spoilt the game from early on for us. There were also a bit of controversy over a disallowed goal that we got back just before half time. And there was some confusion, and it were like, well, they're obviously looking for any excuse here to stop Sheffield United from getting back into the game. Well, that was certainly the thoughts around my circle where we were. We're lucky enough to have certain connections at the Ramble, I suppose, is the best place to put it. And we've now had sort of official word that there was legitimate reasons for the Osborne disallowed goal, or an L disallowed goal, if you like. So what happened during that phase of play, the attacking phase of play, when the ball comes over initially, Osborne is in an offside position. It comes off, I think it cannons off Robinson at one stage, but it certainly comes off their man. Because their man doesn't intentionally play the ball, it's not seen as a legitimate interaction with the ball, if you like. I'm not getting the terminology right, and there's better people than me that will be able to determine the exact wordplay of it. For me, if it catches a deflection, then it changes the flight of the ball, then Aussie's onside. You know, when it frustrates me that they've given it as off, but I understand why they have, if that makes sense. I'm not explaining it very well, but Anel was onside, which is where the further confusion has come, because you can't clearly see whether it's Anel or Osborne that strikes the ball. Well, the referee had determined that even if it is Anel that has the final touch, then Aussie is interfering with play in an offside position because he's directly in front of Anel, to be fair, so, and sort of obstructing the goalkeeper. So that was the feedback we had to the Ramble. Whether you agree with that or not, I'm not entirely sure, but that's the decision that was made. I will try and get better with my explanations as I try and get more of a grasp on these things myself. So, and Gaz saying Wolves is definitely not posh. He says that comes from someone with a wife who's from the Midlands. Up the Ramble, up the Blade, says Alls, and that rule is ridiculous. He changed the flight of the ball. End of, but of course, with Sheffield United. So, just before we go, because we're just about to get to half an hour, which is that's our cut-off point, I'm going to remind you of my team. This is my team that I'm going with for Wolves. I'm not saying it's the team that Wilder will go with, but I'm going Aussie to left wing back. And to be honest, with the injuries that we've got at the minute, he may well do that. So Aussie to left wing back. The only other option would maybe be Larucci, I would assume. I think he'll still go 3 at the back. But Alls has suggested 4 at the back with Trusty at left back. So you can bring another midfielder in or even another striker in, which, you know, very attacking and certainly an option for him. Do not forget, we will be doing a watch-along with my dad, Andy the Blade. Coloured boots. Coloured boots. Can't wait for that. Cannot wait for that. You all know what my dad brings to the streams. So, delighted to have him back on, and thank you for coming. So, I'm going 1 apiece. I think it's the most we can hope for out of the game. Let's hope we can get something and just sort of put a smile back on his face as we continue on with this horrendous season. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.
Gustavo Homer into the top corner.